welcome, Gillian.
I'm sorry, it's so funny. Thank you very much.
Welcome to our country.
Thank you.
Your first time in Argentina?
Yeah.
And how do you do?
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
We're very happy. Thank you. We're very happy.
I'm very happy.
And first time, I want to talk about your decision to be an actress. And the first question is, what made you decide to become an actress?
Oh, I actually don't know. I've been asked that question, and I have no idea why I went to my first audition. I had no idea what made me think that I might want to be an actress. I don't. I had a very early rejection, or what I had perceived as a rejection, and at a young age in an audition, and gave up. my first audition, and I gave up. And then a couple years later, I went back and I took some acting classes, but I don't know.
Okay, without X-Files.
Thank
You grew up with X-Files.
you. I grew up with X-Files.
Yeah. So, the question is, how did you get the character of Dennis Cully?
How was I cast?
How did you get it? How was the process of the audition?
Oh God, it was hell. I was very young, I was 24, and it was pretty much my first TV experience. I had done one other tiny thing, and I got called in for this audition, and then there's a whole process that you go through before you get cast as an actor in television in America, where it's called going to network, where you actually go to, so I went to Fox, and you have to audition first, then you have to audition for the producers and the director, then you have to come back again, you go through this whole process. And then you also go through a process where you're auditioning at the same time as all the other actresses and actors who are up for the same role, and you sit in the waiting room with everybody else at the same time, going into the room, coming out of the room, watching their faces, trying to see whether they look happy or defeated. And it goes on for a whole day. They keep you there until they say that you can be released, and you get called back in, or you don't, or, you know. And so it was pretty nerve-wracking. And then I got the job.
Do you remember what was your first reaction when you read about Dennis Cully? About the series, the X-Files? What was your...
You mean my first reaction to the script when I read it?
The first...
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't used to reading television series because I wasn't interested in auditioning for television at the time. But I did recognize that it was a very different script than anything that was on television. Mm-hmm. And it felt more like The Silence of the Lambs than anything that had been, you know, that it felt like a feature and like something that had, you know, previously been a feature before. Nothing on television remotely resembled it. So it felt really special and unique, and the characters felt very unique and like something I had never read before or seen before.
And do you remember your first encounter with David?
Yeah. Yes, I do. It was in a hallway at network when we were auditioning for the series. It was the anteroom. Yeah, it was pretty moist in there. We were sat in a hallway, and at some point he asked if I wanted to run lines. It's a good pickup line. But so yeah, we went.
We got a scene of the first season of X-Files. Vamos a bajar las luces. La primera escena de X-Files.
Distinguishing features indicate subject is not human.
Champion of mine from the very beginning. It was because of him that I got the role. The network didn't want to cast me, so I felt very supported by and encouraged by him from the beginning. And you know, the series existed because of him, his idea, his brain, his obsession, his perfectionism, and you know, he was really the one who kind of kept it going at the height of its success, you know, for as long as it went, because of how involved he was in every last detail of it.
When I saw the series for the first time, I think I remember an old series called Kolchak, The Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. What was your... I'm a nerd, yes. What was your inspiration to create Dallas Cowboy?
Oh, nothing.
Just a script.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd never seen a character like her before. You know, I mean, the only thing was, I guess, you know, in retrospect, when I would do interviews, people would say she's very much like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether that had actually occurred to me, or it wasn't until later that I thought, oh yeah, that they are very similar, and it's possible that subliminally but I'd never seen a character, I mean, that character did not exist before on television or anything like that, and so much of it was Chris, and the character that he had created that was on the page, in the scripts, and it was just basically following his lead. I, very early on, from having only pretty much done theater, and being used to the process of exploring characters over periods of time when you're in the rehearsal process. I think in like the second or third episode, I was holding a gun on a monster and started crying. And he was like, "What are you doing? Scully doesn't cry." And I was just trying to shake things up and do things differently, and you know, I was just trying to add some, you know, but and he was right. That, you know, that made sense. You know.
We have other scene. Tenemos una escena. Vamos a ponerla.
What's he saying?
ask. I know. If you ever ask me to break policy or protocol, I will have you written up, wrapped up, and tossed out of the FBI for good. Am I understood, Agent Scully?
How would you describe the relationship of Mulder and Scully with Skinner? What kind of relationship is it?
I mean, they're... Hannibal. Stop talking about the X-Files.
It's the last question. Okay.
Skinner and Scully's relationship over time was different. It changed throughout the series, and sometimes she, it felt like she was in control, and sometimes it felt like he was in control. And I think for a long time she had a great deal of respect for him. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Let's talk about the fall. That's amazing. How was the experience working with Jamie Dornan in this series and in the fall?
What was it like working with Jamie? That's not the question they want you to ask. Jamie, he's a really, really lovely human being. He's very funny, and he has a fantastic sense of humor and personality. And we didn't get a lot of time actually working together because most of the time our scenes were separate. But when we did, when he beat the shit out of me, we got along really well.
And what do you like about Stella Gibson? What do you like about Stella Gibson? What do you say yes for the fall?
What do I like about Stella Gibson? What do you like about Stella Gibson?
Why did you say yes for me?
No, I mean she is one of the most she's one of the favorite characters I've ever played. She's one of the most intense, enigmatic, interesting, complex, kick-ass women that I've had a chance to play. And she's, I haven't really seen a character like her again represented. I feel like she taught me a lot. I know when I read the script, I knew that there was no way that I wasn't going to play her. I felt like I understood her immediately, and that she was already inside me. I feel like she was good for... I remember saying this when we first started doing press, before the press or the public had seen the series. And I said, I know you're not going to know what I mean yet, but just trust me, I feel like it's really important that she's out there in the world for women. It's really important that this character is out there in the consciousness of, and so I think we know what that means now.
What do you have in mind when you choose a character, a movie, a series? What is important for you?
Well, the first thing is whether or not I feel like I've done it before, because that's the first thing that would make me not even consider something as if it's too similar to something I've done before. Obviously, who the director is, or whether I feel like I'm interested in the vision of the piece and the material itself, the script. But in terms of the actual character itself, there's been films where the script has been pretty good and interesting director, but I haven't connected with the character on the page at all. Whether it's because it just wasn't meant for me, or whether it wasn't fully fleshed out enough or interesting enough to spend that kind of time away from family. Something needs to be special in my mind, special enough to have to go away and be apart from my family in order to do it. So yeah, but material mostly, I think. The script needs to be good. Yeah.
About Hannibal. What was your feeling when your agent called you for a character in a Hannibal series? What was your first reaction?
I think my first reaction was I wasn't interested in doing more television. I was put on the phone with Bryan Fuller, who wanted to talk me through why he had thought about me for her, and try and convince me, that it would be just a short, I wouldn't have to commit to very much. It would just be 3 episodes, and then we could take it from there. It could just be standalone 3 episodes, and which at the time, I think in terms of kids and other stuff that I had going on, felt like it was about right. But then, I think the minute I got there, and I sat in her chair, and I sat across from Maz, we started playing these scenes. I thought, I could do more of this. This is fun. And then, Bryan, I didn't realize that he was doing this. He never said this to me. But he said in an interview after we'd, done 2 or 3 of the seasons, he said that they purposefully made the dialogue difficult for me and nonsensical to see what I would do with it. It's crazy. Thanks.
Matt looked very scary in Hannibal.
Even for you, he's scary?
Yeah. Yeah. For you, no? It was a surprise for you, the success of Hannibal, and the success after the movies of Hannibal. Was it a surprise for you, the success?
Well, I don't know. The thing about Hannibal, it was a critical success. And it was a success with the fans and a very, very strong fan base. But it wasn't a number success enough. There wasn't enough people watching it. If it was on Netflix, it would be a different scenario. It would be different. But because it was on a network, and it's quite, it's really pushing the boundaries quite considerably. The show, I think it's. If it had, with just a few more different elements to it, it probably would have had a longer life.
And how's the experience in Crisis?
Wow, I never heard that word. In that context. It was, it was odd. It was an odd year. It was it was one season, and it was shot in Chicago, and I don't know quite what to say about it. It was an odd experience.
Yes. In American Gods, to play medium.
You're not in control.
and you play Marilyn, Gillian, David Bowie. Hannibal. What is the most complicated part from make this kind of character icons, the movies, icons of the pop culture?
I think the most complicated part is that so much of it was done just in my own head, because I live in London, they shoot in Toronto, I prepare everything just in my own room or office or wherever, and then show up the day of filming to get into wardrobe and costume and makeup, and then just do it in front of the camera. And I think, you know, in normal circumstances or different circumstances, there would be rehearsal, there would be more discussion, there would be more direction, there'd be more, but there just wasn't, we weren't able to do that. And so it was, so then I guess the complicated element is, what if you show up and you are really terrible? What if you show up and you've got it so wrong that they need you to be doing it differently? And so I think that's the biggest challenge, is just trusting that the work that I'm doing and show up to do is going to be what they want me to be doing, you know?
You have a lot of experience in TV series. For you as an actress, is difficult, or it's more easy to play the same character in different seasons? It's more complicated, play the same character?
Well, there are its own complications. I mean, playing the same character for so many years and keeping it new and interesting and fresh and not getting bored or tired of it, or feeling like you've lost the spine or the motivation of the character, that has its own challenge. And also the desire to do other things as you go on gets stronger and stronger, and you can feel more and more, you know, resentful for being stuck in something. And so that's also part of what you have to, the work that you need to do, is to stay patient and grateful, and so that's the one side of it. And the other side of it is doing other characters. You know, every single set is a different experience. And some sets are very welcoming and easy to work in, and you feel supported as an actor. And some sets you very much feel like you're completely on your own, and you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So it's always different.
The two last questions. The first one is, do you think it's possible a new season of X-Files without Scully? And the last question is, after many years in X-Files, do you believe in the life on other planets?
I'm going to talk about Streetcar, since that's the last question. What do you want to know?
I know you!
What do you want to know about Blanche? Did some of you get to see Streetcar? What? Well, so I wanted to do Streetcar Named Desire since I was 16 years old, and so when we eventually did it, 30 years later, it was definitely, you know, it was a dream come true that I've been working for a short time, or 10 years at least, to try and make it happen. And so in the end, I felt like everything about the production that we put on was the best version of what I could have ever hoped for it to be, between the theater that we did it in, the Young Vic, and getting to work with Benedict Andrews and Vanessa Kirby, who you guys probably know, who played Stella, and Ben Foster, and just the whole cast. It was probably the single most extraordinary experience of my life, both doing it in London and doing it in New York, and it really, really, more than anything else that I've done in my life, probably felt like a dream come true. And so, and also having the opportunity to play her, and I didn't even realize until we started working on it how much of a genius Tennessee Williams is. And so, even though I was desperate to do it, I didn't realize how fortunate I was to have an opportunity to play that character and to work on one of those plays. So,